Magnet Activator. So, welcome to today's show. It is called My Spiritual GPS, and we are going to talk about money stories and receiving issues. So, I've brought a very, very important client of mine who can actually relate to what we're going to be doing today. And I know I've promised everyone that if you have any kind of money stories, or money issues or blocks that you would like resolved, we can actually put it on the chat. We can talk about it, and we can really just get to the root cause of that, because money is energy, right? We know that money is energy. We've heard of it so many times. And by the way, when we talk about my spiritual GPS, we are talking about what is it like to have to be where we're at this moment, right? So you could be in a position wherein you have recurring debt, maybe you filed for bankruptcy, perhaps a divorce or some kind of a separation has caused you to have money problems, or it could be it's just life happens and then you just didn't realize that you're going through so many things in life and your expenses have gotten a lot more than your income. So it could be anything related to money, but then you realize that perhaps your relationship has something to do with it. You're having some health challenges. So there could be many different ways that you have some money trouble. So you are where you are, but we also know that when you are in alignment with your soul purpose, we're going through life and we all want to get there. Like, we want to know what that purpose looks like. What is it like to be living in alignment with God, with the divine, with your purpose? But in the middle, there's all these baggages, right? And hence, we're going to look at these stories that we are talking about. So I'm going to introduce to you a very special client of mine named Pam Raynon. And she is, of course, a financial planner, right? And at the same time, she has her own business. So Pam, welcome to the show.
Good
Hello.
morning. Hi.
How are you? So you look like you're traveling there, huh? Today is
Yes,
a
I have
day
to
of
do
travel.
some, exactly. I have to do some errands too, so that's why I'm out and about right now.
Awesome. Right. So thank you for gracing our show and really being
Okay.
part of this. So we're talking about money stories and receiving issues. So from your own experience, right? So you've
hmm
dealt with a lot of clients before having some financial trouble. What is the most common thing that the families nowadays are facing with all this pandemic? Oh, look at us. We even have Amy with us too, and also in the car. So go ahead, go ahead. Share with us, with the clients that you have been talking to, what is the number, well, 2, 3 reasons why they got in some kind of mess where they're at now?
Well, part of it is also awareness of what they're doing with their finances,
Hmm.
and a
Hmm.
lot of it really is fear. Not
Fear.
knowing where to go. If
Mm.
they commit, not knowing where the money's gonna come from. So those are the two main things. Is just not taking charge of what they need to do on their finances, and
Okay.
obviously, like what you mentioned, a lot of it too is their personal, whatever's in is happening internally.
Internally, yeah, money
Yes.
stories, right? So some of
Yep.
the money stories that we've heard over the years, right? I've been doing healing their money stories for a while and giving them some, we call it a spiritual money prescription. Is they have this sometimes blaming energy. It's the government. You see what's happening. It's beyond my control, right? So there's so many other reasons outside of themselves why money is a problem or a concern for most people. And so just observing, right? Like I said, we think that there's 3 things I notice people have. It's either a mindset issue, right? It's either that mindset, though, unfortunately, are series of thoughts, and it's been programmed by our society, by culture, religion, tradition. That's like we're so used to doing things a certain way. And so I wanted to share with people that you can change, right? Like how your parents are. So you can have this belief that you cannot make more money than your parents. That may be one. And it's if it's very, very unconscious, like you and I are familiar with human design. So we got introduced to this thing called human design. And it's fascinating, right? So the nutshell is if you are living your purpose, like how you're meant to be in this world, what your type and what your inner authority is. So for example, I'm a generator and my inner authority is emotional authority. So that means a generator, I have to wait to respond. I cannot be inserting myself and trying to figure out and start different projects, hoping that it'll all work out. Because a generator, like me, has a lot of energy. Therefore, when I get bored and if you can't sit still, the problem with generators is we start too many projects. We start too many projects and then we can't finish it. And when we're frustrated, that means I am not in the flow when I'm frustrated. And I can't make decisions as an emotional authority when I don't feel like it yet. Like if my emotion is too high or too low, most likely I'm going to make the wrong decision. So Pam, share with them what's your design, what's your type and your inner authority.
Okay. Well, I'm a projector, and
Mhm.
my inner authority is self-centered. So
Like
a lot of it
G
is really
center, right?
internal.
Uh-huh.
G-center, yes.
Right.
So a lot of it is really internal, and for me is I have to wait for invitation after being recognized. So
Right.
um,
So you have to wait
that's
to
for
be
me.
invited. So it could be an email got in your inbox and somehow you're able to respond to that, right? Like, oh, they're inviting me to attend this
Correct.
event. Or it could be a postcard, or it could be a text, an email, or a
Correct.
phone call, right? So you have to be invited. And when
Correct.
you insert yourself in certain situations, what happens?
If it's not the right one for me, or it's not the right people, it doesn't come out really good. Or I end up feeling tired, or I end up just feeling
Mm,
like I wasted my time.
right. So
So
remember,
knowing
money
my
is
human
energy.
design, yeah,
Right,
correct,
right.
yes, definitely.
So money is energy. So when you deplete your energy, what happens to your money?
Mm, it goes down the same way.
Correct, right? Because so if you think about that, money is energy. Energy is unlimited. If you are connected to God, divine source, universe, however you want to call it, and also to Earth, because we're on planet Earth, you will be able to actually have money come to you with ease, grace, and flow. So that is accepting your design, your ability to actually be in that flow. So it doesn't make you right or wrong to be who you are, right? Unfortunately, with our
Correct.
culture, religion, tradition, sometimes we're in a family, and if our mother and father wants us to behave a certain way, and you've been programmed like that, unfortunately, you start living like that instead of by your
Correct.
own design. So I do want to tell you, I'm going to have an expert on this topic come on one of these days, either Tuesday or Wednesday at 12. So we're going to be bringing her in so then you can learn more about what we're talking about. But today it's about money stories. So I want to give you that reference because that is a tool that when you are capable of really learning, when you know these things, that there are actually more than enough tools in this planet to make us all abundant and to actually drop the money stories, because part of the reason why we are not owning that space is because of our stories. So when someone, let's say you decided to think of, oh, I think I want to be a business owner, right? So that's a thought, right? You have a thought of you want to own a business because maybe you're tired of the same job paying you the same amount of money. And you're like, is this all I'm going to do? Because I haven't heard of anyone who has gotten rich because of working very hard. Perhaps
Mm.
over time. But if you run out of energy, what happens? Money is energy. What
Eh,
happens? When you run out of energy, can you really produce the money? if you're
No,
always tired? Like, would you be
no.
attracting people in your space if you're always tired about your work and your ability to meet other people or give them a transformation, right? No. So see, Pam's like, no, 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 no. So when you start helping people with their finances, Pam, what are the resistance? Resistance means you have some kind of a wound and you don't want to open it, so you really don't want to deal with it. So we either deny, right? Like, oh, no, no, I don't have a problem. That's not my problem. Or we either numb ourselves, so we get into forms of addiction, or we decide that we don't want to deal with it right now. We procrastinate, and it kind of bites you in the butt when you procrastinate, right? So what is their
Correct.
usual resistance when you are actually offering them help in, let's say, creating a structure to have a better flow in money, or to have a better spending plan or future planning for them? What are the things you hear about that?
Well, a lot of it is, they're very hesitant, probably because, especially in our culture, we're not programmed, or we haven't been taught to how to manage our money or our finances. So
Mm-hmm.
that's why a lot of it is really education and really teaching them, the different things that are out there for us. Because, if you're not aware and if they're not open to doing that, they're going to be on the same spot, a year after. So I don't know if that answered your question, but um,
Just with your
but
financial
that's
planning clients, like your observation of these clients, what are the things that they normally would tell you as an excuse for not fixing their finances? Because these are the stories, right?
um, yeah, it's fear of, again, where they're putting their money, right?
Fear, a
That
lot of fear.
they put a lot of fears, really.
Okay,
And
and I
they don't
noticed that
know if,
fear, by the way, I was going to tell you on the energetic side, fear is not really coming from all of your emotions in the present moment. So everything that's happening in your life right now is coming from the past. So I know I'm very good at
mm,
identifying the deep ancestral wounds that's actually blocking you from creating this flow, right, of money. So you can ask Pam as a testimonial. So she's been a client of mine, what, 3 months ago, but we kind of met years ago. We've been going back and forth, interacting. And in the past, you know how when you're not ready, you know you need something, but you're not ready, right? So what really can you share with them your story of what was holding you back then, and then how were you able to open that up? Like how are you open to the possibility now of changing something different in your life?
okay. Yeah, I think it's because of how we've been conditioned or programmed, like you mentioned. My family is always the expectations, right? They expect high from you, but they pull you down, right? Because you
Because
want
they're
to,
afraid that
you want,
you're gonna grow
yeah,
up, you're gonna leave them. A little bit of codependency there.
exactly. Yes,
Okay.
exactly. So,
So fear.
um, and then they become the priority rather than yourself, in trying
Mhm.
to get yourself better. And then obviously with what they're doing, they're set on their ways, so they're
Right,
not growing.
right.
But for me, I had a lot of questions. I've always been fascinated with how people are.
Mm.
So I was always trying to see, like, within me, like my awareness, like, okay, what am I
Mhm.
doing? Is there anything
Right,
wrong with me? How come I'm
right,
like this compared to my family? And then the relationship, like, how come it's always me that they need to ask if if they need to buy. I mean, simple, like I have to go to the grocery store and there are
mm,
other three people at the house, but how come I'm the one that has to do it, right?
right.
Something like that.
That's
But
conditioning, definitely. Yeah,
again,
yeah.
yeah, but when I started to kind of get myself away from that and put my boundaries,
Right.
things were changing. I saw them more. I guess the codependency is a little bit
Mhm.
better now.
Right.
And at the same time, I have more space for myself, where then I
Yes.
start thinking about the possibilities of, wait, I want to have my own place. I want to have my,
Mm,
I want to have a new car. I want to have this and that.
mm,
I also want to see what my purpose is, not just for my family, but what am I here to
mm.
do?
Right.
So a lot
And
of
we all
things just,
came
I
with
don't
a
know.
purpose. Yeah.
Yes. So
And,
that was my a part of my journey was really finding out what am I here to do,
yeah.
so I at some point I was like, okay, I need to make a lot of money so I can do my purpose, right? But later on I'm like, well, find out that purpose so that way you can focus on that.
Yeah.
And right now with how I started with this journey, it's
We think
I
that
think
there's
I'm a
not
little bit
enough.
more focused.
Yes, yes. So the not enough, by the way, if you have this syndrome of you're not enough, just
Let's see.
hello everyone. I am so sorry, but that was our technical difficulty there. Something just is not cooperating with us. So I have moved to a different location, and I was sharing with you a little bit about what is not being good enough or maybe not enough, right? How does that show up in your money situation? Usually, what happens is people start to give too much. Like they're almost like they are giving, but then they feel like it's not good enough. So they give more than what they need to give. So that's usually what happens when you have the issue of not being good enough. So I move location, Pam, because of all this
Okay.
going on. So that's okay. So not being good
Okay.
enough is that, right? And then the other story I normally hear people say is when they think that like money is not spiritual. But it's interesting because, think about it, right? So in church, we donate, we contribute to the flow, right? Because church is a business also, and they have a building to maintain, and they have priests or ministers to provide for. Does that make sense? So, so
Hmm.
there's a little bit of a discrepancy there because they say that the love of money is the root of all evil, but yet at the same time, they also ask us to give. Does that make sense? So there's a
Yeah.
conflict, right, within that principle, right? So as we move through life and then we realize that money is something that we do need, right, in this lifetime, just think about it. Without money, you cannot buy a house or a car so that you can actually do your job well. um, People though have put so many meanings to the money, like, oh, if you have more money and then you have more power, or maybe when you have more money you're loved more. So they we start putting different stories to the topic of money, and that's what causes the confusion. And then think about when your parents, when you were young, right? How did you grow up? What was your story? Like, did you see your mom and dad fighting? I know when I was younger, I saw them about that, and I promised I wasn't going to do that. But you know what happens? It's the example is a lot more powerful than whatever you're thinking. Like, that's not true that I did not completely follow the footsteps, because I realized that I was following their footsteps. And then when you become aware, remember, Pam, the awareness factor, can you share with them what that awareness factor did for you? Like, finally, when you realize what you were doing, seeing, saying, and behaving, how did that change your life?
Completely. Because again, when you're not aware of what's going, because I for me it was a cycle. Things
A
kept
repetitive
repeating
cycle,
for
a
some
pattern.
reason.
Hmm.
Yes, I keep seeing the same thing. I'm like, oh, how am I gonna get out of this? And some of it really are, because of your help, I was able to clear them without me even knowing what was happening. It's but yeah, once I decided to get out of that cycle, I go, how come the flow of money is not coming in, right? So I started
Yeah,
to look at my relationships, with my family, with everybody around me, and where I'm at. Then little by little, I was, okay, how am I gonna handle this one? But I already
right,
learned that. I did something there already. What should I do differently, right?
right,
So I could change possibly the outcome.
right. So
So
the
yeah,
work is
just
still yours.
being, yes, and just being aware just makes me more conscious that sometimes I have to keep my mouth shut, if not a lot of times, because that gets me into trouble. Because as a projector, I see things where, oh, this, and for me it's like I see it so clearly, but to other people they're like, they don't receive it,
Mm-hmm.
naturally, just
That you
like
weren't
how I do
invited.
it.
Because if you're not invited,
Yes, exactly.
like your comments, your thoughts are not invited, they will
Mm,
not receive it. They won't hear you. They won't see you. Like you said, you're like kind of there. I don't know if any of you is a projector, but you can look at yourself injecting your ideas and belief systems to other people, and you feel rejected all the time,
yeah,
just because
yeah,
you're not living your design, right? So you need to wait to be invited. You cannot
yep,
just invite yourself, because it doesn't quite work very good. I know Lisa is saying that
correct.
instead of feeling that you're not always included, she suggested ask the question, who does the universe want me to meet today? So
Mm,
again,
okay.
that's a good way of asking a question and opening up to new experiences and new people. But Lisa, remember, you're talking to the universe, God, like higher power when you ask that question, right? So you are living, that's a good way of living, is to live in curiosity, to be able to live very curiously. And that's why I want to help you guys understand that money is in all energetic boundaries: physical, emotional, relational, and spiritual, right? So we talk about if you have a conflict in your belief system about money, that's spiritual boundary. So those are the ones that cause so much interference and so much confusion above your head or in your head, because your head is not supposed to be a way to make decisions. The head just processes information. Your mind receives information from other people, from the universe, from yourself, right? From your past life programming, whatever it is that has happened to you, these emotional triggers that we have is usually because of old stuff. It's never because of what you think it is. So people say, well, I don't have a lot of money because I don't save enough. Well, why? What's the reason behind why you don't do that? There's a reason, right? So when you forego, and some people like to give, you forego of money completely. You know how as soon as you make it, you just give it away? You do have a danger of not feeling safe, not really being safe. Just think about it. Drain your whole bank account and tell me how you feel. Like, think about it, right? Just drain it all the way to zero, maybe negative, and tell me how you feel. Your body, our physical body, will tell us every information we need to know. But the problem is we ignore what we're feeling. We're like, I don't want to feel that, so I'm just gonna like numb myself or just pretend it's not happening, because it's happening. And the negative emotion allows us to actually do something about it. That's the power of your body, right? The body is like a barometer or a thermometer that allows us to feel the emotion. And there's no other way around this, by the way, because we're not robots, so we have to feel, right? We have to move the wave of emotion through the system. And because it's uncomfortable, sometimes we just don't want to feel the pain. But honestly, when you just go through that pain or whatever that is, it's just a wave. And sometimes, by the way, it's not even yours, especially if your energetic boundaries have a lot of holes. So you feel your mother's energy, your father's energy, even if they're dead, your relatives, if you're very connected to them, like maybe you grew up, they raised you, you're going to feel that. And how does that affect your money flow? If they're not business owners, they're employees, but you want to start a business, that'll be a conflict because you love them. And like I said, between love and money, people would always choose love. That's just how our brain is wired. Just think about it though. How much goodness can you receive in this planet? Just ask yourself that question right now. When someone offers you extra money, more money for the services that you render, yet you don't feel good receiving it. So it's not about them, it's you, right? So money is never the problem. I always say you're the problem because you just couldn't handle what that feels like. Okay. So I'm going to ask certain questions. Well, for those of you who have money questions, so Pam is on the practical side of things, right? On the financial planning side. So she's going to help answer the questions. And I am on the energetic side. So if you're interested in figuring out, or again, we have to delete everyone's mind here today. It's not our mind. It's never what you think it is. So you can type in the questions. Amy Fahim is here, my virtual assistant. I'm going to bring her in. Hey, Amy.
Hi,
Hello.
Vivian. Hi.
Everyone's traveling today, so I didn't bring you on immediately. Anyway, oh, look at all that. Even my thing is not quite in its perfect place. So anyway, that's called the snafu of life. So go ahead and bring in. Ooh, the highest I've ever gotten. What's Rosemary's question? What's that? So go ahead and bring in any questions that you may want to ask about money stories. Like, what kind of money stories can we help you shift? That's really that, right? Like, if we can shift that, you're going to be in a totally different, successful place. So I'm excited. Okay.
I don't see any questions yet.
Yeah, okay.
It may be just taking a second for them to come through.
Yeah, there's a little delay, I think, with
Yeah.
with their question. So if I sit like this, look at my camera, it's like, okay, this is how this works. Yeah, my internet just decided to go down in the other room, like shut down completely. So I'm like, okay, I guess I'm not doing that. The bloopers of life.
Yes.
Okay. Nobody wants to open up their money stories. And like I said, it's probably a lot of the fear, a little vulnerability there. So you may
Mhm.
have a goal in your business or in your life, like a monetary goal, and perhaps you're having a like, for example, if you're going to raise your rates, right? So this is a normal common question. Where in your body do you feel that something doesn't feel good? Because that's an indication for you to shift. So you can type in the chat, like, where in my body do I feel it? So think about your rate right now. And if you go, okay, I'm going to raise my rate to this amount. Okay. So until you start to feel the negative emotion, because that's the trigger, right? That's where you go, oh, I didn't know that I have that money story. But every time you up level, you're going to have a money story, because it's like expanding your bubble. And then suddenly you're in this bigger version of you. And you're like, I have never remembered myself being in this bubble. Like, where am I in this universe? Okay. Okay, so I'm going to ask, I think we have a question there from Shifra. So go ahead. What is her question? Oh, perfect.
Okay, so she'd like to bring in 10 to 20K a month, and she's feeling it in her neck.
Okay, so Shifra, if you focus on your midline and just really allow yourself to feel that rigidity, because there's a lot of beliefs that you've had in the past, and your family has certain beliefs in the past, because if your parents never received that kind of money in their work or their business, then between your father's love and your ability to receive that money, it's going to be an issue, right? So that's the conflict that you're getting there. And so you have to release that. Go ahead and take a deep breath and let's clear that energy out. So it's your rigidity to the, what if I can make more money than my father and I can actually be successful? Will he be proud of me? Of course he will be proud of you, even if he's on the other side. Okay, and then you're going to have to type in, Shifra, how that shifted for you when you released your money story about your father and you. Okay, and then we have something about Rosemary's question. So go ahead.
Yes. Rosemary says, for me, it's still the money is the root of all evil. She doesn't believe wealthy people are good.
Mhm.
Intellectually, she can tell herself that it's not true, but she still believes it. And
Mhm.
she feels it in her throat and in her neck.
Right. Okay. So obviously, in your past lifetime, Rosemary, like 8 lifetimes ago, when you actually used your voice to go against a religious teacher or a community or a congregation that you started learning or observing that money is, like just what I said, right? Like, okay, if money is the root of all evil, why is the church asking for contribution again? So you stood up in that moment to somebody and asked the question, and you just got shut down. So let's take a deep breath and release that. Think about it. You healers that can't charge or can't ask for money, that is a common past life experience you've had. Somebody shut you down and say, shut up, don't think. I'm just telling you what you need to do. And when you go against someone in authority, so that's your fear of authority. So when someone tells you that you can't think a certain way, that's really not godly, is it? If people are telling you that you are separate from God, let's review that again. Like, how are you separate from God if you are made in the image and likeness of God? So let's clear the fear of authority and fear of getting shut up and shut down by authorities to 0 minus infinity. So you have to take a deep breath. This is kind of deep. And for you, it's been a program. So you have to unplug from the program from authorities completely. It's deep, 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 deep. Good. Keep on breathing. So that's releasing completely. So what would happen to Rosemary if she actually shifts her fear of authority? So if you look at this, right, it's hard for people to feel very powerful and to be powerful, because when you're in power, people look at you as, they look to you, they look up to you for help and guidance. And when you can't own that, because that's, if you started believing somebody else and you gave away, literally you give away your power to that person or to that institution, that doesn't feel good. That's why you have gut problems. That's why you get adrenal fatigue. That's why you get exhausted, because somebody else is plugged into you aside from you, right? When we're connected to the higher guidance, to God, higher power, it's unlimited source of energy, right? So when we start to do that, we're able to now speak for what we know is true for us. So does that mean the other people are wrong? No, it just means, you know how there are young souls and older souls. So the older souls, pretty much, we've been here in the planet multiple times and we're kind of tired of the lies. We are. It's like my third eye has seen so many of these that I'm like, I'm kind of tired of the drama. Let's just cut the crap and move forward. Okay? Because this is the truth and this is my truth. You may have a different truth. So the young souls tend to look for people that would guide them towards that purpose. But I can tell you, all of us have a purpose. So we're not all the same. We're different, yet we're connected, right? So we all play different roles. And the more you stay in your lane and play your role, the better your life would be. So, for example, I know in Rosemary's home, there are certain part, like the children, like we have usually a husband, a wife, and children, you know, in-laws, right? And parents. So when we start putting together how the family dynamics works, and again, there's a science in human design for this. We call it the Penta chart. It was fascinating for me to understand that some people have more leadership qualities. So even if your kid has a lot of leadership qualities, that means they boss you around a lot of times. They kind of know what they want. They're like the alpha, right? Male or female. And they know exactly what to tell you. And then usually you just follow. That's not right or wrong. That's just the personality they have. That's the role they play in your family. Can you imagine if everybody is submissive and nobody takes a lead? That would be disastrous, right? So again, this money conversation, right? Again, it's about energy. And the more you can flow with it, right? The more you're able to create a structure for money, the better you'll be able to receive. So money is not a giving issue. We all know how to give, right? We're programmed to give before we even receive or put ourselves first. Money is a receiving issue. So my question to you is, so let's say with Shifra, she said something like her father is on the other side. He's passed on already. And she's feeling his money fears for me. So you can see how even the person that's already passed on, right? They're dead. You still feel their energy because you're somehow connected in the family dynamics. Does that make sense? So the more you're able to separate his stuff from your stuff, Shifra, the better you'll be. So by the way, how's your neck feeling, Shifra? So we're looking for the chat. So Rosemary, also let us know how your throat and neck are feeling. And Amy, I think we got one more question before we sign off. So I think we lost Pam, so I'm going to remove her from that. So is there any other question? We have some comment about interesting.
I don't see any other questions right now.
Okay, cool. So anybody else that want to have this is basically a fascinating information that it's never what we think it is. I always think I always know it's energy because energy flows, right? Money is unlimited. Money is energy. Therefore, if you're connected to God, you always have unlimited resource. That's the truth. Okay. Shifra's better. Good. Awesome. Perfect. Thank you so much. Okay, so we have one more question before we sign off. Rosemary's throat feels better, neck still feels heavy. So, Rosemary, what is it? So, obviously, you had a few lifetime of experiences that you have. By the way, you didn't really go against authorities. From what I see, it's just you just spoke up your truth. You were just questioning the society. Like, why is it that you're doing it this way? You just want to know. You didn't even say anything negative to them. So I want you to allow yourself to release all those pictures from the past. So that's why your neck is still heavy, because you're still not able to completely release that. I think Lauren has a question.
Yeah, Lauren has a question. How does this impact my neck pain?
Okay, Lauren, yours is a little bit different. So Lauren has this excessive responsibility from work. So your energy heaviness is coming from above your head. So you need to vacuum with your golden roses, your above your head. So maybe put 36 golden roses above and vacuum it out. So the sense of responsibility for you, you take it so seriously that almost like you're taking on every other person's responsibility in your team and in your company, rather than just taking care of what can I do to contribute to this, right? So return all the energies to all your coworkers, all your supervisors, and all the company directors. Rosemary said she always questions. Yep, that's a good thing, Rosemary. So Rosemary, I'm going to strengthen you to be neutral to questioning, but know when to ask the question. Because if the person is not willing to know the truth at the time, they won't like your question. So, and Rosemary, are you, what is your inner authority in human design? Do you know if you're emotional authority, sacral, or splenic? What is your, so if you don't know, then you probably can't answer that question right now.
Eden has a question. She's asking if we can recap on the steps necessary to increasing rates.
Yes. Okay. So when you are increasing your rates, so first you take a look. And so this is energetics, Eden. Okay. So this is how I see it. So when you have your regular rate, let's say you have a per hour rate, or you have a package that you are selling or offering to your clients. I just think of selling as helping. Take a look at what you have now, and then so I put like a golden rose in front, and I go, okay, so how do I feel with this rate that I have now? So if it feels good to your heart, then that means you're comfortable with that, right? Now, you'll know it exactly when you need to raise rate, because it's either your clients don't have a good accountability, or they're not showing up for you anymore, because part of being in business is also showing up for your business, right? Is providing this cash flow, this money flow. So when you go take a look at another rose for your future and go, okay, what would be the best rate for me to increase this present rate that I have, so I can actually serve more clients, or perhaps serve a better, like a higher quality or different ideal audience, right? So if you take a look at that, so let's just give an example. So let's say right now it's like $100, and then the next one you're gonna make it $300, and then you're like, where do you feel that in your body? Okay, so the discomfort. So normally when you raise your rate and you're still comfortable with that, it's not gonna cause any kind of trigger in the body. There's no emotional trigger. But when you're growing beyond your capacity, like your ability to be just content with what it is, you start to have a different desire, right? So let's say the $300, and then you actually feel better. You're like, ooh, I feel it. It's moving, right? Like you feel better in that situation. And then it's a complete, yes, it's time to do that immediately and notify your clients. Let's say though, you go, well, what if I charge a $10,000 package for my clients, and then something comes up in your body, right? Feel where that is, okay? Feel it, and then ask the divine. I ask for a golden light to shower onto me and run it through the area where I have the discomfort, because obviously there's a story behind that in my body that's causing my body to be triggered. Does that help you, Eden? Okay, so I hope that helped her with the steps in raising the rate. Okay. And then Angela has a question. Let's squeeze in one more question here.
Yes, Angela says, I feel guilty sometimes for being prosperous because it's made others feel envious of me. I know, not my problem.
Okay, so Angela, feel that in your body. It's true. So our brain can say it's not my problem, like leave him alone. So you can have you may have to increase your energetic boundary fortification, but at the same time, remember everything's happening now is because of the past, right? So you have to delete your karma with all the people that are envious of you now, okay, in the past. So you have to delete any direct karma, indirect karma, or indirect partial karma that you have with everyone else in the past when you had a business and you became more successful than them and they had this envy picture. So you're going to see that or sense that in your body, and you have to put that up on your golden rose and start to clear that out. You have to be able to release these energies of karma, because karma is like an entanglement, almost like if I connect a cord to me and to you, if we have karma, it's twisted, but it's entangled. It's almost like the ball of yarn that's twisted in different like knots. So if you keep on clearing all the karma with all the people that are envious and jealous of you and your business and your success, it is kind of normal though, right? Like when we're in power, you're like in the spotlight and people can just like blame you for, well, this is the reason why I had that problem because of you. But it's never about the other person, right? It's about you. So you got to clear that. And it may be also that you may be the one envious of others in the past. So the judgment thing, that's why we need to delete all these judgments with one another. You may play a role of being rich in this lifetime, but you may be poor in another lifetime, or you may be rich in another lifetime, but you cause sorrows and troubles and tribulations with other people in the past. So we can't judge people saying, oh, they're like that. It just reminds you sometimes of you a long time ago. So when you clear that energy, then you can just observe them saying, oh yeah, I may have had that issue before. Like you can't say, oh, that prostitute is doing that. That's a judgment. What if you were a prostitute in another lifetime? Right? So we have to delete all judgments, all this misinformation. Like you may be living a life that you love right now, but in the past, maybe it wasn't your turn. And it's all good because it's your desire to experience different types of lives, and that's how we arrive here. And so we're all here to help one another. And again, with money stories, when you can solve someone's problem, right, and you have an exchange, right, a financial exchange, you're basically asking someone to show up for themselves. So when you start investing in like bigger programs, you're asking yourself to show up more. And sometimes when you're not ready, because you still have other attachments, right? We have family, we say we have kids, we have so many attachments that, or we call it reasons, limitations, excuses. How come some people they have young kids, they just had a baby and they're still running a business? Because they're choosing differently, right? So when we are in a different vibrational frequency when it comes to money, it helps us be aware of all these limiting excuses of our mind. And if we delete that, like I said, the mind is good for processing, but it's never good for decision. Only your design, your human design, your type, and your inner authority would help you with that. Okay? Cool. All right. And Angela said, bye, Felicia. I mean, karma. We saw that gift before. It was so cute. All right. Well, thank you. And this has been very, very interesting. We have another show tomorrow. I'm actually expanding with another network. So tomorrow is my debut with KP Media TV. So Wednesdays at 12, I'm going to be here again. And we're going to continue these empowered money stories, right? This time empowered. And if you have any other money stories or questions you want to ask, I will be here tomorrow with my lovely assistant, Amy. And thank you so much today. Thank you, Amy. Thank you, Pam. I think Pam is here. Well, she's here, but she's not here. But thank you for being here. Any last minute words, Pam, for the viewers?
I think be aware.
Be aware.
Have that sense of, yeah, self-awareness is the very first step to everything. So good luck.
Cool. Awesome. And if you guys want to learn a little bit more about energy, whether it's physical, emotional, spiritual, I'm teaching a class this Friday on energy mapping basics. It's from 12 to 1:30. So if you just want an introduction to energy, please go to viviandeguzman.com/events. And I would love to teach you a little bit more about energy. And because when you are in mastery of that, right, you don't need to control others. Just take care of yourself. That's really the key. All right. Well, thank you so much. And I hope to see you guys again tomorrow. Love you all. Take care. Bye-bye.